5,000 units of our currency is worth 1 unit of your currency, and we are the ones with the actual gold reserves. It's quite evident that the aid is in fact coming from West Africa, from Africa to the Western world. The Western world depends on Africa in every possible way, since alternative resources are scarce out here. So how does the West ensure that the free aid keeps coming? By systematically stabilizing the wealthiest African nations in the system, and all that backed by huge PR campaigns, leaving the entire world under the impression that Africa is poor and dying, merely surviving at the mercy of the West. Well done, Oxfam, UNICEF, Red Cross, Life Aid, and all the other organizations that continuously run multi-million-dollar advertisement campaigns depicting charity porn to sustain the image of Africa globally. Ad campaigns paid for by innocent people under the impression to help with their donations. While one hand gives under the flashing lights of cameras, the other takes in the shadows. We all know the dollar is worthless, while the euro is merely charged with German intellect and technology, and maybe using the tiny past as well. How can one expect donations from nations that have so little? It's super sweet of you to come with your colored paper in exchange for gold and diamonds. But instead, you should come empty-handed, filled with integrity and honor. We want to share with you our wealth and invite you to share with us. The perception is that a healthy and thriving Africa will not disperse its resources as freely and cheaply, which is illogical. Of course, it would instead sell its resources at world market prices, which in turn would destabilize and weaken Western economies, established in the post-colonial free movement system. Last year, the IMF reports that 6 out of 10 of the world's fastest growing economies are in Africa, measured by their GDP growth. French Treasury, for example, is receiving about $500 billion year in, year out. Foreign exchange reserves from African countries based on colonial debt they forced them to pay. Former French President Jacques Chirac stated in an interview recently that we have to be honest and acknowledge that a big part of the money in our banks comes precisely from the exploitation of the African continent. In 2008, he stated that without Africa, France will slide down in the rank of the third world power. This is what happens in the human world, the world we have created. Have you ever wondered how things work in nature? One would assume that in evolution the fittest survives. However, in nature, any species that is overhunting, overexploiting the resources